Let's talk about where true strength really comes from. Not the kind you're born with, but the kind that actually holds up under real intense pressure. We're going to explore this powerful idea that real strength isn't something you find, it's something you forge.
And right here, this is the core idea, and it completely flips the script on how we usually think about resilience. Strength isn't some treasure you just stumble upon. Nope, it's something you build, piece by piece, through a pretty intense process.
And that's the real question, isn't it? If we're manufacturing strength, what are we using to make it? And what does that manufacturing process, that forging, actually look like? Well, that's what we're going to unpack right now.
Let's be honest, our default setting when things get tough is to think we did something wrong. We see struggle, what the source material here calls fire, as a penalty, a sign that we've somehow failed. But what if that's completely wrong?
So the first step is to unlearn some things. This fire of hardship, it isn't some cosmic judgment against you. It's not a grade on your life's report card, and it is definitely not a punishment. Thinking that way just keeps us stuck. It stops us from seeing what it's really for. So if it's not any of those things, what is it?
Okay, so here's a totally new way to look at it. Fire isn't just this blunt instrument of destruction. No, it's a precise filter. It's a force of clarification that simply removes whatever isn't strong enough to last. You can think of it as nature's ultimate stress test.
And this is where we can draw a super important line in the sand. We all experience pain, right? And it can feel so random, so pointless. But fire, in this framework, is different. It's a selective process. While pain just hurts, fire has a purpose. It reshapes what it touches. It has a function way beyond just the feeling itself.
So what exactly is being put to the test here? Well, essentially everything that makes you, you. The fire tests the very foundations of your life, what you believe, how you act, who you're loyal to, and, this is a big one, who you think you are. It puts pressure on all your illusions until they just crack.
So what's the end result of this test? It's like a purification process. The fire burns away all the non-essential stuff, the falsehoods, the weaknesses we carry around. What's left standing? Well, that's what's real. That's what's true. That's what's essential to your core.
Now, this is absolutely crucial to understand. We are not talking about just blindly enduring suffering. That's a wildfire, and it just destroys everything in its path. This is about using fire with intention, like a blacksmith uses a forge. It's about controlled heat to create something new.
So let's look at the actual process, because it's not just one event. It's a series of deliberate steps. First up, exposure. You actually have to face the heat. You can't run from it. Then, timing. Knowing how long to stay in it. Too little, and you learn nothing. Too much, and you completely burn out. Third is repetition. Just like lifting weights, right? Strength is built through multiple tries, not just one. Then there's restraint. Having the wisdom to know when to pull back before you break. And finally, and this one is so important, cooling. That deliberate time for rest and recovery.
And the stakes here are incredibly high. See, engaging with hardship without this kind of structure, without reflection, it just creates trauma. It breaks you. But when you apply structure and intention to that exact same fire, it doesn't break you. It builds you. It creates a whole new capacity.
Let's really focus on this idea of cooling for a second. Constant pressure doesn't create strength, it creates brittleness. It makes you fragile. Those periods of rest, of integration, of just making sense of what happened, that's not a luxury. It's a non-negotiable part of the tempering process itself.
It's a tempting thought, isn't it? If this whole fire thing is so intense, why not just build a life where you never have to face it? Well, the source material argues that this strategy has a profound and really dangerous consequence.
And there it is, plain and simple. A life dedicated to avoiding difficulty doesn't make you safe, it makes you fragile. You become like glass, looking totally fine until the tiniest bit of pressure causes a complete shatter.
So how does this happen? Well, by avoiding the fire, you're actually preserving your own weak spots. You're just delaying an inevitable reckoning. And all that pressure you're dodging, it doesn't just disappear. It builds, and it builds, just out of sight, waiting.
And here's the unavoidable, brutal truth of it all. You can't outrun hardship forever. The fire will find you. And if you've spent your whole life avoiding it, you're just not going to be ready. What could have been a formative, strength-building experience, it becomes a catastrophic, life-shattering one instead.
And what makes that unprepared fire so catastrophic? Why is this whole process so terrifying? Because the very first thing it targets is our sense of self, our identity. You know, the stories we tell ourselves, the titles we hold, our self-image, the fire doesn't care about any of that. It just melts it all down. And that can feel like complete annihilation. When you're faced with this moment of truth, this melting of the self, the source argues there are really only 3 paths you can take, 3 possible outcomes.
Okay, first, you can be consumed. You cling to that melting identity, you fight the process, and you just collapse under the pressure. Second, you can be hardened incorrectly. Yeah, you survive, but without reflection, the heat turns you bitter and brittle, totally closed off and rigid. Or third, you can be tempered. You allow the non-essential to burn away, and you emerge not just intact, but stronger, sharper, and way more resilient than you were before.
And this leads us to the most empowering idea in this entire explainer. The outcome isn't determined by the intensity of the fire. I mean, everyone faces fire. The outcome is determined by you, by your choices, your intention, and how you decide to move through that heat.
So this forces us to totally reframe how we see our past struggles. Those scars, they aren't signs of failure. They are proof that you were tested and you endured. Think about it. An untested, pristine sword might look beautiful, but it's just a decoration. A weapon that has scars, now that's one you can trust. So ultimately what this tells us is that hardship has a real purpose. It's the process that turns all that abstract potential into real-world, reliable utility. It's what makes your strength something you can actually use when it really, really counts.
And that brings us to the hard line, the non-negotiable conclusion. There are no shortcuts. Any system, any teacher, any philosophy that promises you a path to true resilience without a cost, without a trial by fire, they're selling you a complete fantasy. It's a lie.
So, this all ends where it has to. Not with some easy answer, but with a direct question for you. The fire isn't an if, it's a when. It's coming. The only variable in the whole equation is you. So the real question to walk away with is, how are you going to move through it?